Happy video day, guys, and happy Make Up Your Mind Day. So for today's Make Up Your Mind, we actually have a pretty palette that I will be honest with you guys, I wasn't really considering purchasing. I thought it was nice. You guys wanted me to do a Make Up Your Mind on it, and I said, okay. So the palette that we're talking about is the Cor De-Rosa, and it's from Sigma Beauty. And I actually started looking at it after you guys requested me to do this video, and I was like, you know what? This looks like a very similar layout, a very similar palette to a larger brand that I think if you guys know the brand, you probably can recognize this type of format pretty well. And it is retailing for $49 US, which is very similar to Anastasia Beverly Hills, and doesn't it kind of look like that vibe? So when I did see this palette released, I honestly was like, huh. And I mean, the color story may be a little bit different from a lot of Anastasia palettes, but like the layout and all, it kind of reminded me a lot of that vibe, right? So when you guys asked me to do this palette, I was like, okay, I think I really want to do this one because I'm interested. I'm interested in seeing if I own this palette already. So if you guys are new to Make Up Your Mind and you've never seen this video before and you're wondering, what is she talking about? In this series, basically what I do is I try to find similar colors in my collection to see if a palette is unique enough for me to pick up. And we've been doing this for a while and you guys have been doing it with me, and I'm so happy a lot of you guys are actually telling me that this is saving you guys money because you're taking your time, you're looking through your collection, you're swatching things on your arm, and you're deciding if it's a color story that you're really going to use. And I love that you guys are doing just a second thought between purchasing and not purchasing, and just deciding and really thinking if something is really worth it to you. And I love that you guys are all doing that. So basically that's what I do. I show you guys me looking through my collection. I try to find similar hues based off of the swatches that are released from the brand, and then I decide at the end of the video whether it is worth it for me to pick up or not. So this palette was my next victim. I went through it, I looked at all of the colors, and I put together what I think looks really similar to the palette. So if you guys are excited, this is the time that I would love for you guys to go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you see me again. And I have been doing a new Make Up Your Mind every single week of a new eyeshadow palette. So if you guys love this series, it happens every single week. Hit that subscribe button, give me those likes, and let's get right into the Cor De-Rosa from Sigma right now. First things first, let me show you guys the results. If you guys can see, these are my swatches, and these are also the swatches released from Sigma Beauty, and I also included the Trend Mood 1 swatches because her swatches were actually on an arm, and I can kind of see better detail than the Sigma swatches that were like photoshopped or whatnot. So I do think that the ones that are on the Trend Mood site look a little bit more similar to what I believe the palette is going to look like. So I saw these swatches. I do love the color story. It does remind me a little bit of color stories that we have seen, so I do feel like if you guys own certain palettes, you may already have this color story. And if you don't, you may actually really love this color story because it is a gorgeous one. So let me show you guys the palettes that I had to dive into. So the first one is something that you guys keep on seeing. It's from Huda Beauty, and it's the Nude Light Mini Palette. Also, Natasha Denona's Metropolis Palette. I had a lot of shades coming out of this little guy right here from Natasha Denona. This is the Sunrise palette. And finally, there was also a lot of shades coming out of AVH's Soft Glam. All right, so let's get into this. Let's open up these palettes and let's get to showing you guys these colors. So for the first color, I actually had to jump into Anastasia Beverly Hills Soft Glam, which is, oh, I love this palette so much, guys. Like, you don't even know. I'm obsessed with this palette. But anyways, I jumped into this color right here called Cypress Umber. I want to call it lumber all the time because it's brown, you know? But anyways, it's this color right here. Now this color to me looks very similar to the color that I'm seeing coming out of the Sigma swatches, and also from the one that Trend Mood did. This is like one of those really deep browns, but it's a little bit less warm tone, a little bit more cool tone. That's kind of what I'm thinking is going on inside of this palette, and I really love that color. But then again, I'm obsessed with this palette, so you know. So the next one, I was like, okay, well, this is one of those colors, you guys. I know, I see this color so often. It is one of my favorite colors in palettes, so it's not like I get tired of seeing the color. I'm just like, there it is again, and I love you. Natasha Denona's Sunrise palette actually has this color Morgan in it, and now Morgan actually swatches, and when you apply it, it is darker than it looks in the pan. So don't let the pan fool you. This color is actually a little bit darker. It does remind me a lot of the color that I'm seeing coming out of the Sigma palette, and especially in the swatch that I saw from Trend Mood, I was like, this looks a lot like Morgan, and Morgan is amazing. All right, so let's keep on going. So the next one reminded me a lot of Soft Glam again. There was this color that I remember I really liked. It's called Sienna in the Soft Glam, and actually that's the color that I have like basically all over the lid. I love Sienna. Like, this color is like, it's a more warm tone brown, but it actually almost leans orange, and it just looks so amazing in palettes, and I love it so much. And it reminds me a lot of this color coming out of the Sigma palette. There is a chance that the one in the Sigma palette may be a little bit on the lighter side than Sienna inside of this one, but I will admit, if it is a little lighter, I think I probably like this color better because I really love that Sienna color. It's insanely good. So the next color, I actually had to jump into Metropolis. I had a hard time finding this color, to be honest. Like, I was looking through a lot of palettes, and I feel like this is probably one of their most unique colors in this palette. And I don't think it's even that unique. Like, I feel like a lot of people might have a similar tone, but I had a hard time finding it. So I picked this color called Mace coming out of the Metropolis palette. When swatched, I feel like it looks similar. The only thing could be is this one might go a little bit more peachy, whereas the one that's coming out of the Sigma one might go a little bit more pink. I'm not 100% sure, but when I saw them together, I was like, okay, this tone might be a tad off. But is it going to be so off that you're going to be able to tell? I don't really think so. So that one I'm not 100% sure I found like to the T, but I feel like I found something that may look pretty similar on the lid. One actually, when I first saw it swatched, I go, ooh, I know where I could find this. And I jumped into Sunrise palette from Natasha Denona. And I actually was looking at this color called Poppy up here. And Poppy to me just really looks like, it looks so similar, but when I swatched Poppy, Poppy gave me a little bit more pink than I wanted. So what I did was I added a little bit of Phylux color, and I really think that it brings that purple back into it. So it kind of gives me that pink, but then that like burgundy tone kind of throws in a little bit more purple. It's starting to look a little bit more similar to the Sigma Beauty swatch. Now, the Sigma one may be a little bit more purple, and this one might lean a little bit more burgundy. But that's the closest I could find. So that's another one that I was like, but here's the question, do I really want you? Because like that type of color, I think I might like it more in the burgundy than the purples. You know my thing with purples, like it has to be like a certain type of purple. I'm not 100% sure that this is like my purple. Okay, so the next one, I was like, wait. I just saw you too, and I basically used that one to blend out the lid. And that is Jasper right here. Ooh, this color. I feel like this looks really similar to the one that's in the new Sigma palette. It may be a little bit more bright, but color tone, I think they're pretty similar. Okay, so the next one I was actually looking in a lot of different places for, and I finally ended up just jumping into this palette from here from Huda Beauty. I feel like this palette has been really on trend for spring. So I know I've told you guys things that you might want to buy at the Sephora sale. If you guys want something that's really trendy for spring, I feel like I've jumped into this one like a million cajillion times. And I saw this color right here. This matte pinkish color is the closest that I can find in my whole collection that is similar to this Sigma palette. And this color I feel like is pretty spot on. Like, I looked at a few of the different swatches and I felt like it was a little warmer than the one that's in the new Natasha Denona Retro palette. Retro I felt like went a little bit too cool. This one went a little bit warmer. This is the only color that I can find that looks similar. And when I swatched it and I put it next to each other, I feel like it might be pretty spot on. Like, is it gonna be like a real big difference? Probably not. So we've got 7 more to go. And I will tell you, based off of the first 7, if you guys have noticed, I feel like I'm jumping into primarily Soft Glam and Sunrise, and I do love those two palettes a lot, but I do feel like I have a lot of the tones so far. So as of right now, even though the palette looks pretty, I'm kind of like, you know? So the next color was a very bright white looking reflecty color. Now this one I feel like it's gonna have a lot more glitter than the palette that I found it in, but this is the closest that I can find tone-wise. Inside of Metropolis, I found this color right here, and it gives me that really pretty white metallic feel. The only difference I feel is it's not gonna give me those glisteninnesses. But I do feel like sometimes when they have these palettes that actually have glitter in them, if you have a palette that is a glittery palette, you could just dab it on top, add a little bit of glitter, and then you kind of have a very similar effect. I also have some Pat McGrath palettes that have like these amazing glitterinnesses that I could just on top and maybe do like something similar. Okay, so the next color I jumped right back into Soft Glam, and it's this color called Tempura here on the top. That's a very typical like kind of white based beige color that I see a lot in palettes, and I feel like that color is really similar. And yeah, kind of have that one, and I have that one a lot around a lot of palettes. Like I've seen this color so much. I mean, we've even got it going on right here. Actually, this palette might actually even have some of the colors also. But so yeah, so I have this palette, I had that color a few times over, and I've got to use these other colors, guys. These palettes are not gonna get any younger on me. If anything, they're going to expire. Okay, so the next one I actually wanted to stick into Soft Glam, because then when you start seeing that a lot of colors are coming out of certain palettes, you wonder how many you can even create, you know? I jumped into this color called Bronze, but when I swatched this one, I felt like it was a little bit too bronze, and the one that's in this palette almost looks like it's a little bit more goldy, but like a soft gold. So if you get a little bit of this color called Fairy and you put it with bronze and you swatch it together, you literally start to create this color. And I really feel like it's so much closer to the color when you do that together. And when you start layering these colors on the lid, you can dip into one shade, dip into the other shade, and blend them together, and you literally can create colors. Like, it's very simple. If you guys haven't seen the way that I created a pastel palette out of a very vibrant, colorful palette, you might want to check out that video, especially if you're questioning mixing colors together to actually create colors, to see how you actually can do that. Right, so then for the next color, I saw that this looked like a little bit like a pinkiness going on, and I remembered inside of Sunrise, we've got some pinks in here. I mean, like, this goes a little sunrisey, but you guys see this one? So this is a very beautiful pink that looks very similar to the color that I'm seeing coming out of Sigma palette. Now the Sigma palette may be a little bit pinker, but blended, I think they'll be pretty similar. Actually, when I was looking at this pink color, then I kind of looked across the way, and I think I found the next color. So the next color I actually found in Clove. So Clove to me also has a very similar undertone to the Sigma color. I think the Sigma color may lean a little darker than Glory, but I feel like it might lean, I feel like the Sigma color might lean a little darker than Clove. However, like I said, blended and everything, I do feel like you're gonna be able to create very similar looks like between those two colors. So the next color I actually remembered seeing also in Soft Glam. So if you guys see this color called Orange Soda really swatches really similar. Like, I actually went between a color that I saw inside of the Natasha Denona Sunrise that was a little bit too yellow, and then I remembered Orange Soda was a little bit softer, and I feel like Orange Soda just gives me a very similar vibe. So that one, I feel like that's, you know. So then for the next color, I just wanted to stick into the same palettes because I felt like, my God, I'm finding a majority inside of Sunrise and a majority inside of Soft Glam. So I jumped into Sunrise one more time, and then I was looking at this color called Laurel. But when I kind of swatched it, I felt like it was a little bit too light. So in order to kind of spice it up a little bit and give it a little bit more of the color that I'm seeing, I just dabbed into Azalea. And if you add Azalea to it and you just add a little bit more and you just keep adding, I feel like at the end you start to create a color that, doesn't that look kind of similar? That almost looks like a peachy undertoned metallic. It's gorgeous. And I feel like that color that I saw coming out of the Sigma palette, I was like, ooh, that's a pretty color. Now that I know that I can create it with Natasha Denona's formula, and spoiler alert, I love this palette, I feel like I would definitely rather use the Natasha Denona formula because I love it. Then that's it. That's every single color inside of this palette. So after looking at the swatches and kind of like determining, okay, well, what do I think? You know, it's a $49 palette, and it's pretty pricey. You have, like, it's pricey. And I feel like for me, I have pretty damn pricey palettes already that I have a lot of these shades in. So I would, right now, I'm gonna make up my mind and just say, I don't need this palette. I really personally don't. If you guys have Sunrise or Soft Glam and you guys mix them together, you have a majority of these colors, or at least colors that are pretty damn similar. If you guys don't have those palettes and you love this color story, then I would say that it looks like a really pretty color story, because it definitely is the type of color story that I like to look at, and it has a really pretty overall look. So like always, if any of you guys bought this palette, or if you guys know any other colors that you feel look more similar, leave me those comments down below, because you know, not everybody has my palettes. They may have palettes that you guys own, so people love to read like what other people found to see if any of the colors match any of the palettes that they have in their collection. So don't forget, leave me those comments. If you find a color that looks more similar in your collection, let me know down below. But yeah, I think this is a really pretty palette, but it's not one that I need. Hope you guys really enjoyed this video, and like always, if you guys like any of the products that I mentioned today, I will link everything down below. If you guys want to support the channel, you can use any of those links, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you see the next video, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.